name's Adrian Sumner, and I was the captain of this crew back in 1980 when we last flew together. We were together 41 years ago, but since then we've gone our own different ways. We've met up three times since then.
I was a newcomer to the crew, and I joined in April, and I flew with the crew all the way up to the end of December when the crew, well, my part of it, I went on to other things from that point. Before I joined the crew, I then flew with his crew to get checked on several occasions, maybe up to a year or more before when we actually became a crew.
My longest trip in the Vulcan was returning back from Goose Bay in Labrador in Canada, and it was coming towards, Adrian was about to get his, I think it's 3,000 hours on the aeroplane, and we're running out of time towards the end. We need a slightly longer trip, so instead of coming up just south of Iceland and down through the north of Scotland, we thought we'd do something different, and so we flew around the south side of Ireland to coast in over Devon and up from there to return to base, and that took 5.5 to 6 hours.
Well, when I joined the squadron, one of the navigators had lost his wife, so he was slightly depressed, but they kept him busy, and again the camaraderie helped. Because we flew constituted crews, it did help gel the crews, and the only time we were competitive really was in bombing competitions where we all wanted to go to double top and go to America. No, I felt it was my first time, so I wasn't used to squadron life at all either. Same as Pete, and so we just grew as a squadron, I think, and it was really enjoyable.
This is the steering here. As long as you've got that button depressed and you start moving the rudders, then the nose will move. If I take my finger off it, they will automatically centralise, or the nose will centralise.
And there was a black art for taking off, because you taxi and run down the runway initially with the steering, and then you took your thumb off that and had to move to get a grip of the control.
Yeah. And the other thing is, because of where the nose wheel is behind you, is to anticipate on the ground for the turning. So you actually got to go past. If I wanted to turn here, I would actually go past if I wanted to go down that white line. So it's there's an art in all of it. And we were all given not only UK displays, but we were given an overseas display, and we were given Portage to Prairie, and the nearest large airport to Portage was Winnipeg, which is 100 miles away from Portage. So that's why we're talking about Winnipeg. And you say we went Winnipeg, Offutt, which is Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, and then back up through Goose.
And we did a double stage back.
Double staging, and I suppose in those days, if you add the two together, it's probably about 9 hours, I would have said, flying. Yeah.
Well, I was a new boy. That was my first operational tour, and I wasn't used to squadron life. It was an eye-opener in one thing, but it was really great area of camaraderie, and everyone helped everyone else. So you weren't left on your own as if you were a new boy, because everyone took you under their wing. And the whole aim of that, as I learn later, is that you've got to have a squadron that gels together to work well together.
I did 3 tours on the Vulcan. The others obviously didn't do as long on the aircraft. In the early days, post when we handed the nuclear deterrent across to the Navy, then QRA stopped, and we had what we called EDITH in those days, which was a 2-hour readiness. But since then, or after that, it just died, and we only really use the ORPs, which is the operational readiness platform at the end of the runway, for scrambles, for exercise purposes, or for display purposes.
Impression most people are sitting in the back of the aeroplane we're sitting in a broom cupboard with a vacuum cleaner going. It's dirty, smelly, bumpy, and not the best office in the world. However, it was the actual job itself was really good, and yeah, most enjoyable.
I think once you got over the fact that you didn't have an ejection seat, you soon got over that because life was quite busy. My first trip was to deliver an aircraft from Scampton to Waddington, and to talk about being behind the drag curve on such a short flight was an understatement. And I learned about flying from that. You needed to anticipate as much as you possibly could all the time. And that was the trick of being a successful crew, I suppose.